Hello, hello. This is Ignacy from Portal Games.
And Corey Thompson from Dice Tower Dish and Above Board TV.
And this is the Podfather of gaming, Stephen Bonacore, the only one that can handle technology in this place. You are listening to Board Games Insider, episode 308. Is that right? I hadn't have the number
the
right.
Technology guy.
And we are recording this on February 22nd, 2024. Board Games Insider is proud to be powered by Board Game Geek. Ignacy, it's good to see you again, my friend, and Corey in his professional studio, which takes us 20 minutes just to gear up every time he's in that studio.
Well, it takes a while to warm it up. All the generators run. You got to turn on the cyclotron. You got to get everything going.
Everything going well, guys? Everything good?
Yeah, I wanted to give a little bit like behind the scenes to our listeners and viewers. I hope they like this kind of content. So I wanted to share with them this information, very important. My show notes have 3 lines. Corey show notes have 8 lines. Stephen Bonacore show notes 4 pages.
Yes, yep. This is true. But there's a reason behind it that is too hard to explain. I'm the showrunner. I need more stuff to run.
You're also the master of technology, so you're good at cleaning up your editing and keeping things, There's certain minds in here that have been in here since I started that you've never read.
I have. That is actually true too. Ignacy, why don't you tell us really the most important stuff here? What's going on over at Portal Games?
The first line in my show notes says that we are going, at the moment of recording, it is not yet announced, but when you are guys listening to it, it is already announced. We are going to announce Imperial Miners, this time in Brazil. So we continue to add the new languages to the game. I mentioned this last time. It is already the most language editions of any game Portal Games ever put out, and we continue to sign the new deals. So Imperial Miners in Brazil. I know that Portal Games has fans in Brazil. I met them many times at Gen Con and Essence. So greetings to you in Brazil. Thank you for the support for the Portal Games brand, and we are going to play Imperial Miners this year. I'm very, very happy, and I'm very happy for a designer that he has so many additions, so many different people are playing the game. And the next line, the second line, called pre-orders and street dates. It says that on March 20th, so very, very soon, Portal Games is releasing the first game in this year. It is called Printing Press. We are bringing this game from Europe. This is a game initially published in Athens by a company called Granna. These are our friends from Poland. And if you played Gutenberg last year, maybe you are going to be interested in Printing Press. The game has completely different rules, but shares the theme and the setting of the game. So once again, we are moving to the past, yes?
And who decided to put a cat on the front of the box? It could not have been you.
No, this is Granna's idea. They said that if there's a cat, it will be good because gamers love cats. I was not in charge to remove it. So yes, it's like that. So Printing Press releases in March. It's a light family game, very, very fun. I absolutely love it. So you should check it out. And then my last line in my show notes says that Portal Games released a Robinson Crusoe app. So this is a companion app. You can download it for free. It has two basic functions. The first function is being like a so-called companion or tutorial. It goes with you through all the phases when you play Robinson Crusoe and it reminds about the rules. So if you're in a weather phase, it reminds you to roll the weather dice. If you're in a moral phase, it reminds you what to do with determination token. So one thing is good for the beginners to get along with all the phases of the game. And for all of our listeners who played Robinson Crusoe many times, there is a lot of new content. In the app, there is 330 new cards. They are divided into 3 mini expansions. The first expansion is for free. The other ones, if you like them, you can buy them as a small purchase. And these expansions is a very interesting concept. So you have 110 cards in such expansion. And these are adventure cards and these are event cards. And they're all connected with the one theme. So then when you play Robinson Crusoe, your regular game of Robinson Crusoe, suddenly all cards that you are drawing make sense because they have a one big overarching story, overarching theme. One theme is obviously zombies, one theme is obviously pirates, and one theme is obviously some dark rituals happening behind the scenes. So we are going to play regular Robinson Crusoe, regular scenarios as you always did, but all the cards have like overarching interconnecting stories. So this is very interesting stuff. So you can download the app for free. You can play this one of these expansions for free. And then if you enjoy it, if you like it, you can then purchase more of them. So this was happening. There was a presentation of my 3 lines of show notes. Now what's happening with 80 lines of Corey?
Now, to be fair, I mean, you know, you might count different over in Eastern Europe.
There could be some bullets in there if you count it different.
There are 5 bullets on mine.
But 80 lines.
And the first bullet is the intro I already did.
Oh, all right. Shush and just talk, will you?
So I'm back in LA. I'm traveling all the time. I'm down at Above Board Studios, and it is really exciting down here. I love playing with this studio.
Which really is, I mean, and for all, we'll all BS aside at the moment, it's absolutely astonishing what this place looks like. So I know about half of the people listening to this can't see what it looks like. But if you want to go over to the Podfather Gaming YouTube channel, you'll see what Corey's studio looks like. And Brett,
I'm in the podcasting studio right now, and Brett is acting as producer over on the other side of the glass. It's just like all the TV shows I used to watch.
And Brett will give different views of the studio as time goes on, which is pretty amazing. Anyway, so go ahead, Corey. Sorry for stopping.
This is just the audio recording booth. We have more construction going on over in the actual video production side. We have a 270-degree green screen that's computer controlled. And recently we've made the decision to actually expand it out. So it's going to be a green screen is too small a word. It's going to be an actual full set all green, but it's about 3 times bigger than what we had before. We can film anything with this giant death robot following you around with cameras. So we are super excited with where that's going. As far as what I'm doing next, I'm heading over to Dice Tower West in I think it's about a week. It's insane. It's the beginning of March. And I'm so excited about that. Get to see all my friends again, get to play some great games. It's going to be a great convention. And on the side, I'm having a whole bunch of board game industry corporate retreats at the house over in Napa Valley. So we've got companies like Weird Giraffe Games, Cephalofair, Rose Gauntlet coming out and doing just getaway retreats, which I'm so excited about. It's going to be so cool.
That sounds great.
As far as gaming and playing and things like that, I am still absolutely obsessed with this game, Surfasaurus Max. I won't lie. It is the most garish, ugly, color-drenching box I've ever seen. I don't like the title. I was not excited about playing it. My friend Daryl Andrews threw it on the table, made me play, and it is one of the best light card games I've played in absolute ages. It is so fun. But what I've decided is I think it's the first truly semi-co-op game I've ever played. Really semi-co-op. No actual finagling there. So in short, in Surfasaurus Max, you get a hand of cards. Everybody around the table plays one card into the middle, one at a time, until there's a whole bunch in the middle. And then you figure out what is the best 5-card hand made up of all the cards that are played into the middle. And if you contributed to it, you get points. So it's this ongoing tension of figuring out, how do I get more points? How is my card going to be involved in the best 5-card hand? And how can I make Steven cry and
which
card not be included?
When I played that at PAX U, that's exactly what happened. I was so bad at this game. It's a fun game. It did not make I'm not quite as excited as you are, but it is an excellent and very different kind of card game.
It's really cool. I'll be bringing copies to West. I'll be bringing it to a couple different conventions. I might have a few copies. So look me up, hunt me down, and we'll play a game of Surfasaurus Max.
There you go. And over here at the Podfather Gaming, I was last week for the weekend, just a few days. I was over in New Jersey to see some family. It's one of those personal
Ignacy
trips.
and I can go see a movie or something.
I'm literally going to be 3 minutes here. And I went to Brian Engelstein's wedding, son of Jeff Engelstein, which was amazing. What an amazing trilingual wedding. It was just so
awesome.
cool. Yeah, just one of the best weddings I've ever been to by far. And I'm about to go on a personal trip. So like 2 back-to-back personal trips. I mean, normally it's always game related. Going with obviously with Paula and friend of the show, Marion, and her husband and son. And we're going on a cruise out of Miami. So it's going to be a fun time. The newest, biggest ship. It's going to be really cool.
I heard Marion has a much nicer room than you.
She got this like royal upgrade. So we'll all be enjoying certain aspects of it. So it's pretty cool. She's gonna have sushi delivered to her room. All of this, it is kind of crazy.
I'm super jealous.
But we're gonna be posting some videos on it, and of us doing some interesting things. And I would like to, I'm gonna use it as a way to cross over, because there's very little video out there about this new ship. I'm gonna use it to cross over with people who like to travel. So bring them into gaming. Another thing that I like to do, right? The more people we get that enjoy something else, that we bring them in, and now they enjoy gaming with us. The last thing I'm going to say is that Play to Z, who Corey is a investor as well, and I'm chairman of the board, the first Kickstarter, the first crowdfunding project is going up on Kickstarter. It is up there right now as we speak. It would have launched on the 27th. You should be hearing this or seeing this on the 28th. It's for Ascending Empires Zenith Edition. If you like games that play in 1 hour, 4X games, this is like your dream. And it is beautiful, and it plays so smoothly. So people who like Last Light, for instance, it's a very, very, very different game, of course, than that. But this is a tech tree building game where you're going out and doing all the things. You're exploring, you're expanding, you are exterminating, all of those things, whatever the other X is, all those X's, you're doing them all, and you're doing it in 1 hour. So go check out
excreting.
Check out Ascending Empires Zenith Edition on Kickstarter right now, and we'll be back to you next week and let you know all about how it's going. In the meantime, let's go to the event deck. So it's actually a very light week in the news this week.
Yeah.
But we got some pretty important things that are going on here. So the first one has to do with crowdfunding, and it's CMON, who has been using Kickstarter forever, is saying bye.
Has pretty big Kickstarters, so they're a big player in the circles.
They were the biggest for the longest time, the biggest out in crowdfunding, period, full stop. They are still huge, but now they have signed an exclusivity deal with Gamefound. Let me read a little bit here from my CV2. CMON and Gamefound announced that the two companies have inked an exclusivity deal for tabletop crowdfunding and a pledge manager partnership on February 16th, 2024. Very new news. As part of the deal, CMON will send all of its upcoming slate of crowdfunding and pre-order campaigns onto Gamefound. This, needless to say, represents an epic shift in the tabletop crowdfunding scene, as CMON campaigns had previously generated millions of dollars on Kickstarter platform up to this point. Just recently, the Marvel Zombies Kickstarter alone raised over $9 million. And there's all kinds of quotes here from David Prietti, the COO. Comments, guys. Ignacy is very, very involved and knows the people over at Gamefound a lot. I mean, they must be ecstatic about this.
Yeah, I'm meeting with Michael Oracz tomorrow. Yes, I will get some first-hand information that is most likely not for the public knowledge. But yes, last episode I was here, we were debating about Gamefound announcing that they had a great year, that they had 5 of the top 10 best Kickstarters, and it was like jab, and then now they did the right hook, like this announcing. Okay, and by the way, CMON is going to us. So very interesting. And of course, I saw a lot of comments obviously on social media that it is a lot of, as you just mentioned, millions of dollars moving to the Gamefound.
Yeah.
But what I see in the other picture is that many companies may now decide, okay, so if CMON is leaving Kickstarter, that means that it is time for me to move to the Gamefound as well. Like CMON was this proof for the Kickstarter, it is still a successful campaign platform. Now, if CMON says, we prefer to do on a Gamefound, many companies will say, okay, something is about it. I'm moving as well. So
Yeah.
I predict the move of many companies.
I think this is an epic shift in crowdfunding campaigns. I mean, like literally earth-shatteringly epic for crowdfunding. CMON almost essentially single-handedly created crowdfunding as the way to bring out games, and now they're saying Kickstarter sucks. I'm going over to game.
Kickstarter is the old school. They were the original, and everybody kind of by default will go to Kickstarter, and they're waiting for someone to be big enough to match that viewership. And so the big competition is with Gamefound, but let's not discount BackerKit, the new kid on the block. I'm waiting for their big hit, and what was being talked about even as far back as Gen Con is that BackerKit had a big campaign coming up with Brandon Sanderson to do a novels campaign. I'm still waiting to hear more news about that, but that could put BackerKit back on the map.
I actually just saw news that, but it's so far in the future. It's so far in the it said that I saw news that said that coming soon to BackerKit will be Brandon Sanderson's next Kickstarter, next crowdfunding campaign. So it was announced. I didn't put it in here because I don't know when it was.
Big because remember Brandon Sanderson's Kickstarter campaign is, I believe, the largest
of all time
Kickstarter campaign of all time.
Wasn't it 45 million or something? Some obscene number.
It is. That's exactly what I was going to say. Is it's you stop counting at a certain point and just say it's obscene.
Yeah. So this next one.
Can we just a silly question? Can we see in a 10 years window that the word Kickstarter will be only a verb that means that you are going to the Gamefound?
You're going to,
I'm
yes.
trying really hard to say crowdfunding, and it's this mental note in my mind.
Yeah.
Don't
so
say
it may be that if somebody will join our hobby in 10 years and they'll be asking, by the way, why are you talking that somebody's Kickstartering the game? What does it mean? I would say, because there was a platform called Kickstarter before the Gamefound.
Yeah. I don't think, by the way, and I said bad things.
Question.
Yeah. And I said bad things about Kickstarter. And so I'm hyperbolizing. I'm talking way out there. Kickstarter is not a bad platform. It's just that they have literally not moved the needle in 10 or 15 years, whereas these other platforms have moved the needle and have put all kinds of features for people who want to support, and especially the people who are doing the campaigns, which is that's the hard work, right? Anybody can go there, click, and say, okay, I'll back in it, right? Okay. But now the people got to manage this. Ignacy's got to manage this campaign once it's over, and even during. He's got tools on Gamefound that he doesn't have on Kickstarter.
Absolutely.
So the next one is very topical to the current set of news that's going on in the world. And it is that soaring costs and mounting delays from the Red Sea shipping crisis are not going away anytime soon. Let me read a little bit here, and then let's discuss this. This is pretty bad stuff. So we've all heard about this, of course, right in the news, that the Houthi rebels are in Yemen are firing rockets, missiles, everything on various ships, both military and commercial. Soaring global shipping rates and heavy delays caused by attacks on shipping in the Red Sea have begun to have serious impact on the board game industry, and experts believe the snarl-up could persist well into 2024. This, by the way, comes from Board Game Wire, our friends. The cost of shipping containers space has more than tripled since the end of November, reaching levels last seen in the latter half of 2020. I'm definitely going to ask Ignacy about that in a moment.
That's when we had our last big crisis in shipping.
Right. When the impact from the worsening COVID pandemic staggered global supply chains. Shipping from China, where the vast majority of board games are manufactured, to the UK and the EU countries have been particularly badly affected by the ongoing attacks by Yemen's Houthi militants, which have forced container ships to redirect away from the Suez Canal. So first, I mean, Ignacy, the obvious person to first comment here. So have you seen actual prices going back up again? Because we had seen nice bottoming out on these shipping container prices, but what's going on?
So what's going on from our perspective, and I have this luxury is maybe not the best wording, but we moved a lot of transport to train. So we are moving from China. It goes somehow, I don't know how, through the Russia. I don't know how it's good doing, but basically we moved a lot of production. I mean, transport of the production in China, and we are using train, and the train has stopped in Poland. I'm very lucky, and we just take the whole container from that. So yes, it is. But if the company is in America, obviously they have no other choice. Like, there is no other. You just pay what they ask you to pay, and you cannot debate or discuss. We are calculating, we are checking. Of course, because price is one of the factors. So there's also the timing, the delays, like there's all of the different factors. So yes, my production team is loving the situation. Deciding, calculating, asking the CEO of the company what to do. But at least I have the options.
Right. So that's a very interesting point that this is a Cold War era issue that you just brought up, that for Europe, non-Polish Europe, the old satellite countries that were part of the Soviet Union, for all of them, their rail system does not connect to the rest of the ones I just mentioned, and Russia and China, because we didn't want to be able to have the Russians, Soviet Union, put things on rails and bring them through Europe. So they literally changed the gauge. And the stop is in Poland because, of course, Poland was
you were in the middle, in the center.
And you were under Soviet Union control at one point.
And the big train stop is in Poland. So yes, it all goes to Poland. I can get my games.
And literally everything you're doing in China right now is getting put on a rail and coming across.
Not everything. My team is for every single game they are checking the code, because sometimes you put so many, because the game is smaller, you put so many volume of the games that the price is somehow it goes. You can calculate. Now my production team is debating every title and calculating both options, and we are choosing which one. More work, but once again, at least I'm lucky that I can have this work. For the companies in America, they don't even have this choice.
Yeah, no trains coming to America.
No trains. But in America, so the funny thing is, really, this issue is hurting mostly the UK and Western Europe, because in the US, you can easily take those those containers, and they go to Long Beach, to the California, and they get on there, and then they go across the country on rail, or come around through the Suez Canal to get to the East Coast, which is the Panama Canal, to get to the Suez, to get to like the Atlanta hubs and things like that. So
what about the Suez?
Anyway, this is a fascinating thing, and let's hope that things can stabilize once again. So, Ignacy, maybe you can come back at some point with an update on how things may or may not be changing in regard to this. So, Corey, the next one you put here. By the way, I put the first two. I'd like to point out that this little game between the two of you guys, you're losing. You're both losing to me. Corey, tell us what's going on with Asmodee.
I don't know. I've just been insulted. I don't know if I want to present my beautifully constructed news stories.
Please present it. If not, I will present it.
So again, I know you will. So this is again from Board Game Wire. Asmodee is, it appears, whittling down Plan B games and shifting titles to other subsidiaries. They're basically, Asmodee owns a whole bunch of different lines, titles, subsidiaries, companies that they've taken over, and they're kind of emptying out the old Plan B, which they acquired a few years ago. So the story is, tabletop gaming giant Asmodee has moved Camel Up, Village, and the entire Great Western Trail series to subsidiary Lookout Spiel, continuing a slow exodus of titles from Plan B. Asmodee bought Plan B 3 years ago towards the end of an enormous acquisition spree within board gaming that saw it pick up companies and brands including Fantasy Flight, Catan and Days of Wonder, as well as several distribution businesses. So this is really interesting. I've heard a lot of stories from within Plan B and Z-Man. The two are kind of connected within Asmodee. They shared an owner, they shared an origin, things like this. So the Plan B buyout gave Asmodee control of its eponymous game studio, as well as Next Move, Pretzel, and Eggert Spiel. Those three were all owned by Plan B, and then Asmodee took over Plan B. And the game catalog is very, very strong. It includes Azul, Century Spice Road, as well as the aforementioned Camelot, Great Western Trail, and Village. So shifting things around within the titles. And I also know that Asmodee Europe is doing a big reorganization remodeling right now. So I think they're trying to consolidate and try to figure out identities for the different pieces of Asmodee. And part of this is looks like emptying out Plan B.
Asmodee is going through pretty serious layoffs and consolidations. Embracer Group, right, their parent company, has been posting not particularly good numbers. So they have forced everybody in the umbrella to lay people off, consolidate, be more efficient. I happen to know directly, Asmodee doesn't do this kind of like announcements often, but I know that a good friend of mine, his name is Luke, he was running Office Dog Studios. He's now running a whole bunch of studios. He's running Z-Man Games, he's running Office Dog, and he's running another one within Asmodee. So they're making one head of studio be able to handle several. So obviously you get rid of some pretty expensive people by doing so.
And it's interesting because originally, from what I understand, Asmodee Europe originally was this conglomeration. There was a lot of acquires going on. And the plan from the start was to keep them all separate and keep them all separate entities so that they could have more creativity and do their own thing. But it turned into this quagmire where none of these subsidiaries really knew what each other were doing. And Asmodee Europe kind of devolved into a little bit of chaos. So I think they're trying to fix that now.
Yep. Exactly. So interesting to see and hear about, and we'll definitely get more of this later on. And now in the meantime, let's get over to strategy and tactics. So Ignacy, it's glad that you're here because we, of course, always get backed up questions. It's just Ignacy question after Ignacy question. It's kind of
insane. No, it is. We cannot do this every time I'm showing up that there is only questions about.
Well, we'll comment on it too. Don't worry.
Okay,
I mean, we'll make some, but I mean, it has your name written all over it. So I mean, I'm not going to. Corey and I are not going to talk about the detective portfolio from Kurt Van Hoyveld. See how I went right into that? Who's really at Vitruvian Gamer board gaming. Does having a successful series like Detective in your portfolio stand in the way of working on different new titles, or is there a separate team devoted to that line? Ignacy, how do you manage this?
Yeah, this is a very interesting question, and we indeed can go even deeper on that. So if the company has a success, we know that the company is doing expansions or buzz about these different versions, King Domino Junior, King Domino 2-player, King Domino dice game. So the whole line needs to go up and up with new products. So yes, these companies, when they have a success, for us it was Detective, they want to monetize the success story. So yes, and I think that Kurt is right. It kills a little bit of creativity because the company wants to do the same because they want to have the same success like the initial success. So for us, and I think for many other companies, is the same case. With the success of Detective in 2018, there was a strategic decision inside the company. We have a massive hit for the upcoming 2 or 3 years. We focus totally only on Detective with the spin-off game, with the expansions, with the bigger even promotion of the base game. So did it kill productivity or creativity of my development team? Yes, this for sure. Was it good? Was it bad? Of course, the history will decide. But I think that Kurt has a lot of good points here. That if you have a success, you want to monetize this success, and for a few seconds, you are not thinking about anything else.
We're really a sequel and expansion-driven industry. We throw lots out. If something hits, then we go crazy.
And that's really become a focal point over the last 5 to 8 years because there's so many games. We talk about this all the time. There's just too much product out there that once you get something, you got to capitalize on that in a material way. Corey, why don't you read the next one?
So we've got a question from Roberos at the Mage. Ignacy, will we see 51st State the game on an app and or on Board Game Arena anytime soon? The only way I can play it currently is getting out my copy for solo mode or using Tabletop Simulator module with a friend to play online, but I'd love to get you my money for my digital plays as well. What barriers are in the way of digital implementations or indeed any other games in the Portal catalog?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So I think we already announced it, and if not, it is already. I'm announcing it right now, but I think it was already announced. We are doing Imperial Miners on Board Game Arena, and Portal Games Digital was working on that. And our listeners know that I love to complain on coders. Sorry, coders, you always make delays. So the plan was the mod of Imperial Miners on Board Game Arena will debut at PortalCon, which is exactly a month ago. 4 weeks later, there is still no Imperial Miners on Board Game Arena. I was told it will be next week. My point is the cost is very, very high. The coding and the testing and all the delays, like at some point when you calculate how much effort and how much you paid for the preparing this mod, this app version of the game, when you compare with promotion of this game and how you can then sell more boxes, at some point it may not make sense. For us, for the Imperial Miners, the process took exactly 2 times longer than we expected, 2 times longer than Portal Games Digital estimated. So we had some estimation of the work hours that we will pay for this mod, and then I paid twice as much. So my short answer is the cost is the biggest problem.
Yeah. And then digital, cost to do digital games, even when you have your own people working on it, right? And you have mostly your own people working on this stuff, is staggering. So, and how do you know that you're going to be able to even recoup the cost, much less, make money on that? That's a lot of time.
That's why you do it, is the potential audience is so much bigger.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a successful digital, then you can sell it so many more than a physical copy.
Absolutely. Eric Langenbach, friend of the show from Sweden. He's at Lagnus. Bonus question, but no, not for the contest. Okay. Ignacy, yes, this is a specific Ignacy question. Stephen bought a Corvette for his retirement fund. What is your Corvette? That Polish sports car, the Leopard, a cookie factory, a railroad ticket to the Riviera? Obviously, you're not getting on a plane as your retirement thing. So, Ignacy, when you retire, and it's got to be some point in one's life, what's going to be your Corvette?
I was thinking, because this is very, very fun and silly and interesting question. I was thinking about it for some time already, and I couldn't come up with anything. To be honest, I know that what we are doing with my wife very, very slowly. We are preparing to maybe have some small, nice cottage house in the mountains in a wilderness. So we just go for the retreat for the weekend or maybe for the months in a very, very, just small village, some mountains and beautiful countryside. So this is happening. We are preparing for that. But Corvette or cruise or something like that, I'm not that type of person. No, I prefer my tea, my book, and my silent room.
What better way to drive to your small, quiet village than in a large, bright yellow Corvette? I mean, that seems like the perfect way to subtly settle in.
It's very subtle to go through the countryside on
in
a neon yellow racing car, basically.
You almost sold me that. Almost.
I'm glad I got to read that one. Go ahead, Corey.
Oh, man. All right. We've got one from Han Arama, who is at Han Arama.
Hanarama. He's a very good friend. Chris Han is his real name. He's great.
Awesome. Why is Portal Games not attending Gen Con 2023? I think we covered this last week.
We
Discussed-
might.
yeah,
We
we
might have.
discussed UK Game Expo, which was almost the same question why Portal
Yeah.
Games was not at UK
Yeah.
Game Expo. The answer is the same. So, but to once again said it, if you don't have a new release in the time window when there is this convention, you probably are not going. The cost of conventions are so high that going there just to show off that you are there, it's a risky marketing, and maybe you should spend this money much more wiser on social media
That's a very
ads
expensive
or something like that.
Mhm.
So yes, going to Gen Con without the release, it would cost us a ton of money, and we prefer not to do that.
I can say that Above Board went to Gen Con last year, and it was a tremendous amount of money to do
Well,
everything that we did at Gen Con.
You also went insane with the amount
We
of
went
marketing,
insane
the amount
at
of
Gen
SAG
Con.
actors and directors you brought. It was like, he was like the biggest company at the place,
And-
or he looked like it.
Quite honestly, it didn't really pay off.
Yeah.
So we have to rethink the marketing side of it, and Gen
Yeah.
Con is just such an expensive investment.
It's a huge, huge investment. I mean, I would even consider for you to do smaller conventions. But
Sure.
that's a conversation for a different time when you get.
Yeah, but if you can give a little bit once again value to our listeners. So, for instance, this year Portal Games is going to Gen Con because we do have a release.
Oh,
yeah, so
good.
we will be there obviously because we have a release in this time window. But the game that we are bringing is a small box game. It's a very low MSRP. So I'm going there. I already know that still, even if I sell all the copies I will bring to Gen Con, I will be still in so-called red in my books. But I'm going there because at least I will put these games on the market. People will play these games. People will discuss these games. So I'm using this as a marketing plan. Yes, I'm spending some money, but I'm putting the title to the audience and want them to talk about it. If I haven't had anything, no, this makes no sense to go there.
Very, very true. Greg Senko, also another big friend of the show, friend of the Podfather. He's at LepreCon. He really likes space exploration and stuff like that I like. He always sends me information. He's a great guy. Ignacy, when you worked on 11, did your love for football help or hinder the game's development? In other words, do you love the sport so much it made creating the game so easy, or the process was more difficult because you wanted everything to be perfect to match your affinity for the sport?
Yeah, this is a great question, and knowing football, I used my knowledge about the football to create not only better rules, but to create different strategies. And let me explain what I mean. In football, and this is, I guess, exactly in other sports, there are different clubs, and they have different strategies how to be successful. So there are some clubs who have young players who they just trade them and sell them for big money. You have big clubs who just buy only celebrities players and then win trophies. There's all the different strategies how you run the club. And me knowing these clubs, I was literally, we had a whiteboard and I was writing Borussia Dortmund in a real life. This is their strategy. Can we do it in a board game? Here is a Real Madrid. This is their real life strategy, how they operate. Can a player try to be like a Real Madrid and do this strategy? So I was listing all these famous football clubs, and I was asking myself, is my game allowing player to feel like doing this strategy in game? And we introduce obviously all these different rulings and features in the game. And yes, you can, being fan of one of the clubs in a real life, you can imitate it in a gameplay. So yes, I think it helped me to create a better game.
Oh, that's actually a very interesting way of thinking about it too, because that sport so intimately. And Corey and I are like, I think you just kick a ball around. We, literally, we would have no idea that clubs have different strategies to put players on a field.
But in the NFL, you have the same. You have the different clubs that have the different strategy and different director, and somebody is more in the marketing and is famous. Somebody Taylor Swift supports it and is their license. You have all the different features, and then you ask how to introduce them into the gameplay, correct?
The Taylor Swift strategy obviously is a very big, good strategy since Kansas City Chiefs won. They won, and they won.
Okay.
They won. It's
can't
great.
I can't believe that Taylor Swift is a football asset.
I don't know if you,
That's-
I'm sure you guys didn't see, but I
This
was
is
wearing
all I know about American football, Taylor Swift.
for the Super Bowl, I was wearing a T-shirt that said on the front, had a big football on the front that said, "I'm only here for Taylor." ... On the back, it said, "And the prop bets, all the bets we made, the proposition bets that we made." So, and Paula did
That's
all of that
insane.
for us. It was great. We had matching shirts. Go ahead, Corey. One last question here. Well, I love this question, so it has to be part of this.
Last question. This is from Scott V, who's at ScottDon1. So, what is a board game asset worth? If one were to start a board game publishing company and wanted to buy existing games from existing publishers, what would be the price? Would it be based on sales trends, age, margin forecasts? So the specific here is, what would Ignacy sell the rights to Robinson Crusoe for? Would it be 10,000, 100,000, a million? I've got my checkbook out here.
Yeah, and I'll even start it's an impossible question to really answer
It
because
really is.
some things you're just not gonna sell it, right? Or if you're selling that, you're gonna probably sell the whole company. It was sort of like when Asmodee bought Catan. They only bought the one game, but then they quickly bought the rest of the company too. For whatever reason, it took another 6 months or something.
And there's a lot of that going on right now. Like Mythic is unloading a whole bunch of titles. They've been selling their IPs for various
Mythic is essentially out of business,
North
sadly.
Star has sold a whole bunch of titles.
And they're essentially out of business too on some level. They're not
there's
doing
a lot of
well.
it going around.
Yeah.
There were a couple of situations when Asmodee was also buying just one game, like they bought Spotted, for instance, for American market.
Right.
So there are some rare situations, but the answer for this question is super simple. I mean, from my perspective, from my knowledge, you treat this game like selling a business, like Robinson Crusoe.
Yes.
Gives me profit every year. So if I'm selling Portal games, or if I'm selling Robinson Crusoe, in terms of the negotiations contract, it looks quite the same. Like I know how much money Robinson Crusoe brings to my table. I know how much it will bring in the next 3 or 5 years window, and then we start negotiating. So unless I'm super wrong, I think I would negotiate exactly the same as I would negotiate the selling company.
It's an absolutely great point you're making there. And this is I've sold a company before, as you know. It's a very interesting math problem, psychological problem, a problem to try to figure out, well, what is this thing, company, or this thing, an IP, an asset worth? And the adage about selling a company is that there are 50 ways to value your company. Every one of them is wrong. Pick the one that works best for you. So because anybody can, what I value something as is different than what the other party does. Standard thing sort of in this industry is that your company is probably worth 3 to 5 times net income, profit. So-called profit. It's an easier word. 3 to 5 times your last year's profit, or your average profit over the last several years. 3 to 5 times that as a publisher. But that's what the book will tell you. What the actual person who's buying it, or the entity, Asmodee or whoever, CMON, a big company, that's going to be different to them. So that's a great question with an impossible answer.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, go ahead, Corey.
Saying, I have a lot of cookies. So we'll talk at Dice Tower
Let's
West.
talk more, yes.
We'll talk. I have tea, and I have a lot of cookies.
I got a lot of beer, but that's Mary would do that with me. Anyway, let's go over to play testing. All right, Corey, you have a question for everybody this week. I love that you're so active on the play testing question side
for it,
but you don't.
You come in a half an hour before we start recording, and you go, "Oh, by the way, there's no question."
But you can't bring us any good news lately for some reason. But your questions are great. So go ahead.
I have been filling this news space. You have no idea.
So last week you asked this question, so we're going to talk about this one now.
So, how many conventions or major game events do you attend each year? Which ones do you usually attend? And if none, why not?
I mean, I wanted people to, because a lot of people, don't go to any, and I wanted to hear that mostly. Sadly, some people didn't. They just said literally 0. And I don't,
Yeah.
so I don't know why they wouldn't have told us why, because there's a lot of reasons not to go to them. You're too far away. It's too expensive. You don't have the time. All those are great reasons. But a lot of our fans are more of on the alpha side. So they have told us about the ones that they go
Yeah.
to. Does any of these things stand out that you want to mention?
Biggest trend that I saw in these answers was 2 or 3 conventions, and they would list one major, one local small, and maybe an extra in the middle. And that seemed to be pretty consistent with most of the answers here. So, as an example, Nick Shaw at NJ Shaw 2, currently 3. Based on last year and current year's plans, UKGE, where he demos for Mighty Boards, GridCon, where he mostly plays, but also play tests some of my own designs. I would love to go to GridCon. And a newish local con in North Devon, UK, co-run by a local game store and hotel it's hosted in. So why not more? Money. Can't afford it. Transport, hotel costs, food, just too much. I'd rather spend that money on new games.
And it was also interesting that a lot of people, obviously from Europe, were mentioning cons that I don't even know. But with Essen being obviously the big one, some mentioned Nuremberg, which is Spielwarenmesse, the trade show, which is interesting that some people mentioned that one because it's
I was
not
kind
one.
of fascinated that the toy shows showed up.
Yeah. So
really interesting.
Lal Margu mentions Essen's Spiel 15 years in a row. Have we met Lal? Because he or she, I don't know, gives a lot of stuff into our stuff. So if you ever see me, just make sure you say who you are. It's been 15 years to the Spiel, Nuremberg Toy Fair twice, Strasbourg, France, de Bretzel et de Jus.
Your linguistic skills.
Yeah, exactly that.
That one, I'm sure that was great. Sorry,
That was
I just
perfect.
hurt the ears of every
You have
French speaker.
not insulted a large portion of your. You've done great.
Look, Luxembourg Game On, 2 days usually in October, November. So these are at least 2 of those, right? I've never heard of at all. Ignacy, anything in particular that you're noticing?
No, but I wanted to say that this question was much better than I expected. The surprises, the answers were surprising for me because it looked like how many questions you are attending. Like, okay, simple question. But then when I look at the answers, it is super interesting because for me it's like 20 conventions a year. For Steven and Corey, like 100 conventions a year because they are insane.
Yeah.
And then when I see the answers and I see 1, 1, 2, and I say, yes, the regular geeks, not crazy idiots like us who are professionals, they attend 1 or 2 conventions a year. And this was like, for me, mind blowing. Like we just work in the industry and visiting these conventions every other week. We don't perceive that for other people. It's just 1 con a year, maybe 2 cons a year. That's all.
Right.
And we also need to keep in mind that we are farming from, I think, the more involved, more geeky side of the industry. So we're actually seeing the higher level numbers on the answers to our question.
Yeah, right. Think about that, right? Where people who are listening to us are probably higher than the average person out there, right? That's very, very interesting. Ben Stein, he says, I do not go to conventions or major game events. I currently limit my travel as I'm a single parent taking care of an elderly pet, a 9-year-old rabbit, that my kid, who is now in college, asked me to get back in middle school. Our rabbit is awesome, but has required a couple of hospitalizations. Oh, the poor thing. So he's limiting his travel. So I mean, that's a very good reason, right? I mean, that just makes sense that you can't travel due to all of these other things. And I'm going to point out
every listener from our listener who takes care of the rabbit is a good excuse.
Yeah,
this is a rule.
I was a rabbit veterinarian for years and years. They're tough.
There you go. And Gabrielle Perez says, the only major one I go to is BGG Con on a regular basis. So Gabrielle, hopefully I've seen you there and, say hi, wave, and tell me who you are. But I did go to a local one called No Quarter Con. No Quarter Con is a local war game convention. That's great. Nice. Very, very cool. So Corey, you also put in next week's question here, right?
Because you made me.
Yes, I did make you. So why don't you read it and we'll address it.
All right. Which one did you pick? I gave you a whole bunch of questions.
The semi-co-op one, because you asked me. There you go.
So it's about semi-co-op. I was really kind of fascinated and on a tangent about Surfasaurus Max, my new obsession game, being a true semi-co-op, which is a little tongue-in-cheek. But semi-co-op games have a history and a reputation. Semi-co-op games are a very difficult style of game to design and implement correctly. Everyone is working together, then one person wins. It has this problem of players, if they think they're not going to win, just tanking the whole game or taking it over, or the game can very easily fall apart. So what is your favorite semi-co-op title? I'm really curious what ones are still being played and talked about.
So what other ones would you say would you even put into the category? Because I'm thinking about this and I'm like, well, there's a lot of one versus many. I mean, I always say that's semi-co-op, but that's not what you're talking about.
No.
Right.
That's
but
different.
But you know what I'm saying? In some level, people call that like, well, all right, okay, one versus many. It's out of the, put that to the side. So what other
Sure.
games would you even consider
The
semi-co-op?
most famous semi-co-op, I think, is still Dead of Winter.
Okay. So it also is going to have like asymmetrical goals, right? Which Dead of Winter is fantastic, right? So everybody wants to survive.
Has to contribute to the middle.
Everybody wants to survive. Usually, I think there's probably a character that just wants to kill themselves too, right? But
There's
they
a
want, but
traitor sometimes.
yes.
And you've got some of the party games like the Hydra game. You've got you could say Battlestar Galactica has a strong semi-co-op to it that everybody's contributing. Someone is going to win. Teams are going to win.
Yeah, I mean, I always think about, I guess sometimes, many times the hidden traitor games can be called that, but it's really, those are team games.
Semi-co-op kind of migrated into this realm of traitor. And
so I can't,
the granddaddy of semi-co-ops does.
I can't think of a single game that I play that would be purely semi-co-op. Like you pointed out, Surfasaurus Max. Yeah, that's a true semi-co-op, right? We're all trying to do something the best, and then only some people get it, and then some people
and someone wins,
succeed, and the other people lose. So, Ignacy, are there any other ones on your radar that you can even think of? Maybe.
So, one of the most famous games of this genre these days, obviously, is Nemesis by Adam Kwapiński and Awaken Realms.
What is it called again?
Nemesis. Yes. And so we are all on the ship. We don't want to be killed by the aliens. We don't want the ship to be destroyed, and everybody has a secret agenda and wants to do. I played Nemesis and I loved it, but in general, I really don't like this style of game. So the most famous, maybe the best game, really made a lot of fun for me, and I enjoyed it a lot. But in general, this genre is bothering me, and from the reasons that Corey said, that at some point somebody says, okay, I have no chance to win, I will destroy the game. And he's literally destroying the fun of the game. Like, he's not only destroying the winning condition, he's ruining the game for everybody else, because he sees he's not going to win, so whatever.
So nobody will win.
Yeah. And so it bothers me, and that's why if I see that somebody has a semi-co-op game, I said I'm not playing. Like, sorry, there's so many other games that I can play, so I'm quitting. But I have to say, Nemesis is amazing.
Nemesis is amazing, and that probably will be my choice then, because I played Nemesis, but I played the one after that. It was Nemesis something else, and I played that recently. I'm sorry, I apologize.
Maybe
I mentioned
Station Fall could even be considered semi-co-op. Everybody's got their own agenda, but you're also trying to keep this station going, and there are things that need to happen, or else the whole thing will fall apart.
Oh, then that's my answer, Station Fall, because it's my number 2 game of 2023. Station Fall is sick. I mean, we have to know how to play the game, though. It's like this massive teach if you don't know how to play. So watch the videos on Station Fall. So that would be my answer. I think Surfasaurus Max is going to be your answer, Corey. And Ignacy's like, I'm not playing this game.
No, that generally a genre that I think had this big sweep of popularity right around Dead of Winter, and I know I'm going a little bit into ancient history. Isn't it terrible? Ancient history is what, 5 years?
Yeah, right.
But there were a lot of semi-co-ops announced, and they all had the same problem, which was if you felt like you're not winning, you just destroyed the whole game, and nobody had fun.
That gets back to don't play with jerky players, but we won't go down that. That'll be
It's
maybe next week's question, which Corey also put there. Jerky players. I'm going to put that in this
Jerky
little.
players.
So-
Okay, thank you.
So right now, Ignacy is going to create a thread on Board Game Geek in our guild. Please go over to our guild on BGG, find our thread with this play testing question, and post your answer to it. And in the meantime, let's get to final scoring. Thank you so much for listening. Help us spread the word about this podcast by telling your friends to download Board Games Insider wherever they like to get their podcasts, or watch Board Games Insider on the Podfather of Gaming YouTube channel. You want to be part of this podcast? You can. Just ask us questions for the strategy and tactics segment, or go over to the guild as well and ask us questions and answer the questions for playtesting. You would think that I could read this after all these years, but I keep changing it a little bit. Go to
It's
the
okay,
guild.
It's new
If
this year.
if you're not part of this guild that has almost 1,300 people in it, you got to be part of our guild. It's got to be one of the, I'm sure it's one of the most active guilds on Board Game Geek. Go over there and talk to people and answer questions and ask us questions. It's a lot of fun. Check out the websites, which are portalgamesus.com, podfathergaming.com, dicetowerdish.com, and play2zgames.com. We're all over social media. Please interact with us. It's on Facebook. The pages are /Board Games Insider, /Portal Games US, and /Podfather Gaming, and /Play2Z Games. You can speak directly to Ignacy, Corey, and Steven on Twitter or X and Instagram at Portal Games US, at Podfather Gaming, and at Dice Tower Dish. And those active YouTube channels are Portal Games Studios, the Podfather of Gaming, and Above Board TV. On TikTok, Ignacy's alone, Portal Games US. We'd really love to see you in person at an upcoming convention. Dice Tower West is next for both Corey and I, so hopefully we'll see some of you there. Board Games Insider was professionally edited by Joshua Bowman from Tabletop Submarine Podcast. If you want him to edit your podcast, reach out to him at tabletopsubmarine@gmail.com. And that great voice you hear doing the intro, outro, and in-between segments is that of Ray Greenlee. He can be contacted to do your voiceover work at raygreenleevoiceover.com. Gentlemen, great episode again, as always. Great seeing you. Do you have anything else you want to mention right here at the end to our wonderful listeners and watchers?
I think you guys should get a recording studio.
Ignacy, you want to invest in a recording studio over there in the room next to your bedroom?
As soon as I sell Robinson Crusoe for the track of cookies, I will debate it.
There you go. That's perfect. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See you later, everyone.